So anyway, guys, school lunches. Let's have a look at the story starting on One News with Melissa Stokes.
The Healthy School Lunch program is far from healthy. One of the main suppliers going bust today. The Bell Group.
I put a tweet out today, Chewie, and I went, the government pays $3 for school lunches. Compass has to take, pardon the pun, a bite. The Bell Group takes a bite. That's the profit, I mean. They need profit there. They then pay their staff to put the lunches together, and then they buy the food and deliver it. And they wonder why a company's gone bankrupt. $3, profit for Compass, profit for LaBelle, paying of the workers to make the lunches and the food itself. $3. So I've been generous saying, oh, they're probably $2 meals. No, they're probably 50-cent meals. The meals, the actual food in the meals, probably costs them 50 cents. Because I'm sorry, there's like the other layer of things on top. And remember, this is the private industry, then there's a profit margin at the top. Because that's why business do business.
Like some of these meals have literally just been Waddy's ready meals, like purchased, I guess, in bulk or just from Waddy's or a supermarket. And you get those in a supermarket for $3.75.
Yeah.
So
they'll be buying them in bulk for $1.80 or something.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep going.
Which provides 125,000 meals a day, has gone into liquidation, just the latest issue to hit the controversial scheme. The opposition says it's a mess and another supplier inevitable. But David Seymour, the minister in charge, isn't eating his words, insisting... So this is the jump the shark moment in New Zealand. How on earth can anyone, I don't care if you are the ACT supporter from day one and you've donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to them, how anyone can believe David Seymour when he says that this is still going well and there's no real problems, how anyone can believe that. This is what we're talking about when you say jump the shark. The story is so implausible, people will be turning away. There's no cause for alarm. Here's senior political reporter Benedict Collins.
This is one of the companies the government backed to deliver more than 120,000 school lunches a day to hungry kids. Now, it's gone belly up.
LaBelle has been struggling for a while. Their concern was around the ability to be able to pay wages and pay suppliers.
Because that's one of the $3 a meal, paying wages and paying the people who are giving you the food. That's two parts of that before you get to the profit. And they think there's not enough money, Chewie. So they're saying that's not enough money to feed children. Crazy. I think that's far more than they need, but they're saying not enough money to feed children. Crazy.
Today, liquidation.
How bad is this development with LaBelle?
I don't think it's bad. I actually think in the long term it's very good.
What? This is now called gaslighting. What? Gaslighting is when the person will try and you convince that black is white and wet is dry. So what you're seeing right now is the definition of gaslighting. I'm just going to go back a little bit because we need to hear him say again that this is actually good.
With LaBelle?
I don't think it's bad. I actually think in the long term it's very good. There's some sensitive commercial matters being worked through.
What got them into trouble here?
If I start judging what got them into trouble, then I'm going to be...
Oh, Mr. Seymour. Oh, at the back. Mr. Seymour at the back. Oh, please, at the back. Yes, man in the blue cap. Is it that you need to pay more than $3 a meal to feed children? I'll wait. Yeah. No.
Actually, Pat, the ACT Party has always been against minimum wage, and if we didn't have a minimum wage, then we'd be able to get it done.
Yeah. Okay.
And children should be fed by the state.
Disrupting some pretty sensitive negotiations.
Was it the school lunch program?
Well, again, I'm not going to start deciding or telling what got who in trouble.
A promise kids won't miss out on their lunches.
The quality will improve, the volume will be maintained.
It seems the government's known...
Just quietly, right? We'll find out over the next 24. These guys do 125,000 meals a day. How a company can go into liquidation and then Compass start scrambling because they have the contract, these are subcontractors, to be able to just smoothly and calmly continue with 125,000 meals. I don't see this going well. It's interesting that Seymour also said this is quite good for the long term. In the short term, kids, you might be screwed for several weeks, but in the long term, it's not looking too bad.
For several months, all wasn't well.
Were you aware that Labelle was in financial difficulties?
Chewie, this is fantastic. You see, let's play a game together, right? Here's the game. It's called Listen to the Minister of Education. David Seymour's boss in the portfolio of education. Listen to what she says. Here's the game. Whānau watching, here's the game. See if you can hear her say at any time and in any way that David Seymour has communicated with her directly. Right? Play a game. See if anyone can pick it. Has David Seymour spoken to his his boss in education about this? Because she's about to be asked, what has he said? See if you can pick it. I'm interested to look at it as well. I haven't seen it all myself. We'll see if David Seymour says it. You ready? Here we go.
Were you aware that Labelle was in financial difficulties?
Look, one of the things that Minister Seymour had updated me on a little while ago was that there were some difficulties there. I didn't know the complete and utter full extent.
Has he not
Little while ago. Okay, that's not too bad. But she didn't know the full extent.
given you the full picture?
No, he has been updating the Prime Minister, and I have known that there are some issues around Labelle, but in terms of what's happened today, I didn't know it was quite at that point.
A school
He has been updating the Prime Minister, and I didn't know what was going on until today. So, did we land in the game, guys? Has the Minister for Education heard from David Seymour, the Associate Minister or Assistant Minister or, don't know, Drama Minister, about what was going on? The answer is no. He has not been in contact with her. Yeah. She found out through the Prime Minister and through the media releases would be my bet, Chewie.
I mean, I get it. You're a big politics boy, and you've done very well in coalition negotiation. And sometimes you get to be the acting prime minister as well, which is very good for the portfolio. And you're a party leader, which puts you on the same level as the other party leaders, old mate Winston and Luxo Man. So why would he stoop to talk to Erica Stanford, the boss of one of his portfolios? It's very confusing. You can't be both the leader at the tippy top and have someone above you. You can't, especially if it's a woman. Your brain explodes. So you don't do it anymore. You just don't do it anymore.
The woman card. Yep.
Well, look, ACT is hardly the party for women, is it? Is it, Pat?
I would agree. I would agree.
Like, you can have all the pink ties in the world. It doesn't make ACT the women's party, does it? No. Right. The other thing that I want to mention, and we can come back to this if you want to, because I realize it's a bit of a swerve here. But at a time of your choosing, Pat, I want to go back to the start of the video. It's something that you've mentioned before, how in the media scrum, they're not all reporters. Right. And I want to have a look at the chap that's behind Seymour's shoulder. We can do this at the end if you wish.
All right. Well, let's get to the end of the story, shall we?
At that point.
A school lunch supplier who lost 80% of her business to Labelle says it was inevitable.
I think that they took on something too big, too large, the scope. It was almost unrealistic.
So this is obviously a company that was doing the job, a small company, small local company doing the job as far as we know perfectly before this nightmare of a scenario came up that they thought that they could centralize everything and make it work. Remember, better food, cheaper. That's what Seymour said.
To be able to cover the whole of the country at the price point that it was, and just the logistics that's involved is just overwhelming. And so I think that they just kind of bit off more than they could chew.
The new school lunch program has been plagued by mishaps. Last week, a student burnt by a superheated school lunch.
I've even apologised and written a card to one young boy who was affected by poor service.
So that's a very important way he's worded that. I've apologised to one young boy who was affected by, quote unquote, poor service. You mean the kid that got second-degree burns, David? That guy, affected by poor service.
No, we minimise that, Pat. We don't speak of the reality.
And as I said, TV3 have a picture of it, and I will show that to you after we do this clip.
School lunch.
I've even apologised and written a card to one young boy who was affected by poor service. So, obviously there's been problems.
Many believe there's an easy fix.
It's really clear that the government could decide to revert back to the program that was previously rolled out quite successfully, and that, it was supporting...
Although, Chewie, the serious point now, this mirrors the government pulling out of, for example, Kāinga Ora housing, that many of these companies, some of these companies no longer exist. So they may not be there.
They killed them.
But that's what I'm saying. So if they tried to go back, some of the people and companies that were providing those meals no longer exist. Just like all those builders going to Australia because there's no Kāinga Ora houses to be built, once the economy picks back up again, aren't going to be there. So I agree with what Chloe, we always agree, because we're just basically sellouts for the left. We always agree with Chloe. But I agree with the point she's making right now. They could do that, except they're going to struggle because many of the places no longer exist. So you couldn't actually go straight back. You could go back theoretically to what was done, but you'd probably still have to find some new providers. So it's not quite as simple as that, unfortunately, thanks to these guys who are the anti-Midas in New Zealand politics.
Local businesses where whānau, where kids knew those who were providing their lunches.
Christopher Luxon still backing Minister Seymour's program.
What will it take for him to finally step in and fix the mess his government has made of the school lunches program, particularly given the one minister who actually seems to want to get it sorted out, Erica Stanford, is being ignored by David Seymour?
Again, this is a minister that's working incredibly hard through some very challenging
incredibly
issues,
hard. Very challenging. Working very hard.
And yet fresh problems keep on being served up.
Chewie, let's go commentary first of all, then we'll go back and look at your thing. Something interesting that I got messaged today. I won't say who it's from because I haven't told them I was going to share it, but someone who is pretty astute in the world of politics. Right Honourable Chris Hipkins said, what will it take for him to finally step in? We've just seen it, fix the mess, yada yada. One minister who actually seems to want to sort it out. Erica Stanford is being ignored by David Seymour, right? That's what we've just seen. My anonymous source will say this. This framing is so bad. Erica Stanford could be the Prime Minister in a few months. Why is Labour framing her as a caring minister, struggling to help the kids against indifferent men? The reality is she is exercising no leadership over a huge issue in her portfolio and clearly has no willingness to exercise control over her associate minister, which I think is a really interesting point.
Yeah,
and I could have just owned that. Point. I could have just owned that for myself, but an anonymous person might be watching, and
yeah. So imagine if Hipkins had stood up and basically taken that line of like, this school lunch is a train crash that just won't stop crashing. He could chuck in a cheap shot there about someone involved with the ACT Party harming young boys. He could go, there is nobody coming to help these kids, even the Minister of Education. Yeah. She wants no part of this. She does not want to solve the problem. Her most challenging angle at this point is how to make sure that these exploding superheated school lunches don't land on her lap.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be tainted with association with it. But at the end of the day, she's the head of the portfolio, and in education, David Seymour defers to her.
Mm-hmm.
She could roll up her sleeves and fucking do something about it.
We're probably looking at Erica Stanford's version of Christopher Luxon's treaty principles bill. He wants to distance himself as far away from that as possible, and it's turned him into a spineless jellyfish. I wonder if Erica Stanford wants to distance herself as far away from these lunches as possible. I mean, we've seen her say, well, you need to talk to David about that. Well, you need to talk to David about that. Now when the shit's hit the fan and David needs to be talking to her, she's kind of absolved responsibility. I wonder if it's a double-edged sword, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's also a failure of the media, which is, again, one of our favourite topics. Of like, you have been asking her now for a couple of weeks. So now the questions have to change to, when are you going to show decisive leadership in your portfolio with your subordinate?
Yep.
Because it's not changing. It hasn't changed. We're 3 months into the school year. Like, this hasn't got better. It has actively got worse. It has killed businesses. It has hurt children. It is not working. And it is delivering, like David Seymour's favorite thing, it is delivering poor value to the taxpayer. We are paying money for this and getting bullshit.
Yeah.